Well, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, whenever it is that you're choosing to watch this podcast. Welcome to another episode of Life Lessons. Glad that you've joined me for another ride today. What a beautiful day it is to ride, I tell you. I'm looking, there's not a cloud in the sky. I know recently we have been, it seems like weeks, we've had rain upon rain upon rain upon rain. But today, man, it's just absolutely gorgeous. What a day for a ride and another life lesson. So glad that you joined me today. My wife and I just got back from a trip. Our two sons and family took my wife and I on a trip overseas for our 50th anniversary. And what a trip it was. I'll tell you, and I say this in a good way, they flat wore us out. Man, there was so much to see, so much more to see. We went first to Normandy and saw some things related to World War II history. And then we came back to London and spent some time in London seeing the sights there. I'm hopefully going to relate some of that and pictures and everything in a later podcast, but and I won't belabor you. You know, I know how people get with their vacation pictures. I promise you I won't do that to you, but I do want to share just some experiences that we had while we were overseas. But that's not this podcast. I was thinking about what do I want to talk about for this podcast? And different things came to mind, but I think the thing that came to mind first was the importance of growth. Here it is, springtime. This ride looks a whole lot different now than it did in the fall and in the latter part of the winter. Grass is green, trees are full, and flowers are just beautiful. It's just beautiful to see God's creation. Well, I got to thinking about growth and the importance of growth. I know that sometimes I've shared with you that cutting grass is one of my favorite things to do in the spring and summer. And when we got back off of our trip, man, my grass was needing cut really bad. It had rained a few times while we were gone, and man, how the grass really grows. And I was looking at it. In fact, I was looking at my grass just before I started this ride, and it's I cut it a week ago, and it's already growing back, ready to cut again. Well, I got to thinking about growth, and the Hebrew writer talked about growth in Hebrews chapter 6, verse 1. Listen close to what he says. Therefore, let us leave the elementary things about Christ and go on toward maturity. Go on toward maturity. All of us desire growth in whatever area it might be. It may be in our career. We want to grow in our career. We want to grow in like getting married, in relationships. We want our relationships to grow and to prosper. We want our finances to grow. All kinds of things relate to growth. But here he says, let's leave the elementary things. Okay? So think about your days in elementary school. There were some fundamental things that you and I had to learn. This is a bad deal right here. There were some fundamental things that you and I had to learn before we could progress to the next grade. In first grade, we learned, pluses and minuses, and in some cases, we started learning, subtraction, addition, sometimes multiplication. But then when we got to middle school, we started learning division and all of those kinds of things. So one step leads to another, but At some point, we have to leave those elementary teachings behind, right? They're fundamental. They're important for us to grow as a person, but at some point we got to leave those behind and grow toward maturity. So, I want to give you today four principles for growth. First of all, there's the big, better, best principle. Bigger, best, better principle. I have to say that real slow. Bigger, better, best principle. And what I'm talking about here is being faithful in the small things. Jesus said in Matthew chapter 25, verse 21, his master replied, "Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful in the small things. I will put you in charge of many things." Being faithful in the small things. Sometimes we want, it's not like we can go from addition, subtraction to algebra. No, we can't do that. Okay, it's not meant to be that way. So we have to we have to grow in the small things. Be faithful in the small things. Now, how does that apply to us physically? Well, just in our life. Well, first of all, remember back when you got your first job. Okay, it may have been like working at a hamburger joint. It might have been, or your first job in your new career. Okay, think about that. You had to learn the elementary things of your job in order to grow in that job. Some of you have been in a job, 15 years, 20 years. Some of you have been in a job 5 years. Some, I did my job, my career for 33 years. And you grow every step of the way. But you have to be faithful in the small things before you can take on the responsibility of the bigger things. Okay? The bigger, better, best principle. Jesus said, since you've been faithful in the little things, then I'll make you responsible for the bigger things. The bigger, better, best. Okay? So, you have to work in, like when you get a job, you work, you start out at the very bottom, and then as you progress, as you learn through the years, you get promoted until eventually you're a supervisor or whatever the case may be for you. So in order for us, it's not like you and I in our faith walk, it's not like you and I can learn John 3:16 and then automatically understand eschatology. Eschatology is the study of last things. It doesn't work that way. We have to mature, and we have to be willing to mature as well. A baby, is fed milk for a while, but then eventually they have to graduate to more solid food. Otherwise, they wouldn't thrive very long. Okay, so the first principle is the bigger, better, best principle. The second principle is this is going to sound maybe a little odd, and it may ring a song or two with you. The love me tender principle. I couldn't resist that. The love me tender principle. Now, what in the world is that love me tender principle? See, it's easy to love people who love us back, right? That's easy. But it's not so easy to love the unlovable. And sometimes, if we really admit it to ourselves, we ourselves sometimes are unlovable. Okay, we're sometimes selfish, self-centered in our approach to things. We want when we want it, and how we want it. We want it yesterday. The principle here is, it kind of lends itself to what we call the golden rule: do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Man, there's a lot of road work going on today. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Okay? Matthew 22 verses 36 to 39 are included in that principle. Let me get past this guy here. So the key here is Jesus said, this is how men will know that you are my disciples, if you have love one for another. Love one for another. The love me tender principle. Love. Sometimes, you and I cannot love people on our own energy, if you will. Okay. We just have a hard time doing that. But that's where we depend on. Okay, they've said this, they've done this. I may not like them very much right now, but God, help me to love them. Help me to love them in spite of themselves. Okay, help me to love them in spite of what they've done to me or said to me, or whatever the case may be. Okay, the love me tender principle. Third is the don't worry, be happy principle. Remember that song? Don't worry, be happy. Okay, don't worry, be happy principle. This comes out of Philippians chapter 4, verse 11. Paul is saying, I'm not talking about, now I'm translating here, right? I'm not saying this because I am in need, but I have learned that no matter what the circumstance is, I have learned to be content. I have learned the art of contentment. Okay? Let me get to this stop sign here. As I've said before, I like to just kind of interrupt things when I'm at a stop sign so I can focus more so I don't get hit. That's the main objective. All right, here we go. So, don't worry, be happy. Now, I know that sounds kind of cliche, but that's a very important principle to learn. To learn to be content. We always want more, right? We always want more. We want the bigger, the better, the better, the bigger, the bigger, the bigger. The bigger, the better. We want more. More of this, more of that, more of the other. We're always wanting more, okay? And Paul encourages us, be content with what you have. He says, look, now Paul, remember the Apostle Paul, in other places in his writing, he talks about all the stuff that he went through. He was shipwrecked, snake bit, chased out of town, stoned, all this kind of stuff. He was whipped, all this stuff, and yet he says, look, I don't want for anything. What I've learned, and that's the key here, he says, what I have learned. Contentment is a learning process, okay? Learning to be content. Learning contentment isn't what, just we wake up on a Thursday morning and boom, we're content. No, we have to learn to be content. I've shared this before, but I want to share it here in light of what I'm talking about. There is this phenomenon that I've referred to before called Facebook envy. Facebook envy. Facebook envy, and not very many people are aware of this, but it is a true phenomenon. Facebook envy is when we see people like on vacation or showing off a new whatever they have. They're all smiles, and maybe they're on the beach or they're in the mountains, or they're showing off a new car, whatever it might be. Facebook envy is, I wish I had what they had. And I can assure you from the people that I have talked to over the years that sometimes those smiles are fake. They're fake. They're not, they're smiling for the camera, okay? They're not really happy. They're not really content. I want what somebody else has. I want that car. I want I want the electronics. I want what they have. And to be very honest, the world in which we live, the culture in which we live, was interesting. The culture in which we live thrives on that. Okay, for instance, every year, the cell phone manufacturers come out with a brand new cell phone. Every year. And people line up, sometimes for blocks. Sometimes they wait overnight to get the new whatever. Whether it's a new watch or a new iPhone or whatever it might be. Okay? They clamor to get it. I'm sure you've seen the stories and heard the stories, seen the videos of people going absolutely crazy on Black Friday after Thanksgiving. They line up and they go nuts because they got to get the newest whatever. Paul says, look, don't live that way. It will eat you alive. Don't live that way. I have learned to be content with what I have. Now, what you have may not be the perfect whatever, okay? But it is something that that God has blessed you with. That it comes from God, and so be content with that. Please don't strive after the newest, greatest whatever. Don't fall into that trap because you'll never ever be satisfied. Okay, so we've got the bigger, better, best principle. Secondly, the love be tender principle. Thirdly, don't worry, be happy principle. And then number 4 is the garden principle. That's the principle of sowing and reaping. Okay, Bible teaches that what we sow, we sow what we reap, or we reap what we sow. Now that can be looked on negatively or it can be looked on positively. Okay, but I'm talking about here the garden. So now watch. I'm not a garden person, never have been. It just doesn't work very well for me. Okay. So, but let's take the principle of planting a garden. So, in the early spring, you go out and you fertilize and you rototill and you get the soil all ready for planting. Okay, you get it all ready for planting. Then you plant. You go and you buy the seed. And you plant the seed and you water it and you fertilize it maybe a little more. Okay? And then you wait for it to sprout and then to reap the rewards of your effort. Now just suppose that you rototill the ground, you fertilize it, but you never plant anything. You reap what you sow. If you don't sow anything, you're not going to get anything. Okay? If you don't plant anything, you're not going to get anything. You want a promotion in a job, but you don't really work for it. You don't put in the effort. You just expect that it's just going to happen. No, it doesn't work that way. You want the best marriage that you can possibly have, and yet you don't work at it. It doesn't work that way. Okay? So the principle here is that what you want, it's not going to be not going to be handed to you. You have to do something. You have to plant. You have to till the garden. My wife loves flowers. Boy, does she love flowers. We got flowers all over our yard. Okay? Now, what happens then if she plants flowers in the flower bed and never tends to it, never waters it, doesn't do anything to it? What's going to happen to it? The plants are going to die. You reap what you sow. Okay? If you go around grumpy all the time and in a negative attitude all the time, what's going to happen? That's going to produce negativity in other people. They're going to stay away from you, right? So the garden principle here is you reap what you sow. If you want to be successful, you've got to work at being successful. You've got to have the mindset of being successful. Okay? So those are 4 principles that lend itself to leaving the elementary things, the childlike things, and progressing toward maturity. Okay? So I'm going to stop right there. I think those are enough principles for you to think about, look at, ponder upon, and see how much elementary thinking you're actually engaged in, and how much mature thinking you're working toward. Okay? All right? Well, listen, I'm glad that you joined me for the ride today. Hope everything made sense. Hope that you got something out of this podcast, and toward thinking more maturely, thinking toward growth, not staying where you're at and staying stagnant, but growing, ever growing. So I want to thank you for riding along. It's been a beautiful day, and we'll get out here again next week and ride again. God bless you. Thanks for riding with me. Have a great day. Have a great week.
Thank you for your salvation.